Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
5 men, including 3 former police officers charged over the 1989 Hillsborough disaster, have appeared in court. They all face charges including misconduct in a public office and perverting the course of justice. 96 Liverpool FC fans died in a crush at the FA Cup semi-final. Well, Sky correspondent Nick Martin is at Warrington Magistrates Court. Talk us through what happened there this morning, Nick.
Well, of all the Magistrates' Court appearances, this is definitely a memorable one in the sense that 3 of the 5 men in the dock were serving retired senior police officers. 5 men, all in the dock, facing charges in relation to the Hillsborough disaster and what happened after that disaster. The most senior, I think, of the 5 in policing terms was Sir Norman Bettison. He was a former Chief Constable both in Merseyside Police and in West Yorkshire Police. He was a Chief Inspector at the time of the Hillsborough disaster back in 1989. He faces 4 charges of misconduct in a public office. The Crown, addressing a senior district judge here at the Magistrates' Court, said the allegation against him is his role in spreading, they say, a message about Hillsborough fans in the aftermath of the disaster and their culpability, effectively starting the story running that it was the Hillsborough fans who were responsible for what unfolded that day at Hillsborough. Also alongside him was a former Chief Superintendent, Donald Denton, alongside another police officer, a former Chief Inspector, Alan Foster, alongside a former South Yorkshire Police solicitor, Peter Metcalfe. All 3 of those men charged with perverting the course of justice. The Crown telling the court in this brief hearing that that was in relation to witness statements that the force had gathered by their own police officers as part of an inquiry after Hillsborough, that the 2 police officers served to rewrite some of those statements, to add or take away detail which it's alleged led to making South Yorkshire Police being viewed in a more favourable light. In relation to Peter Metcalfe, a former South Yorkshire Police solicitor, it was his job, the Crown said to the senior judge, to deal with the results and the process of the Taylor inquiry, which took place after Hillsborough, but also to deal with any possible litigation which could come the way of South Yorkshire Police. The 5th defendant in the dock was Graham McCrell. Now, he was a safety officer at Hillsborough back in 1989. The Crown say that he was not up to the job. He did not carry out safety checks. He did not write sufficient contingency plans. He did not deal with possible emergency planning involving the police, things like crowd control, what happens if lots of crowds turn up to the stadium at once, turnstile policy. And the Crown allege that it was his job to do that, and he didn't do that on the day. In many ways, this was a remarkable Magistrates' Court appearance because of who was appearing in the dock. All 5 men indicated to the court that they would be pleading not guilty. There was no application for bail, and all 5 men will now appear before Preston Crown Court in September. There is one man who's not here today, and that's David Duckenfield, the match commander. He has also been charged with manslaughter negligence of 95 of the 96 Hillsborough fans. There is a separate court hearing ongoing, which the Crown Prosecution Service hope will result in his appearance at a Magistrates' Court soon. So 5 men in the dock, all charged with their involvement in the aftermath of the Hillsborough disaster, on their way to the Crown Court next month.
OK, Nick, thanks very much.
Here, 5 men, including former senior police officers, have appeared in court for the first time to face charges in connection with the Hillsborough disaster. The men were charged in June, 28 years after 96 people died as a result of the crush at the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. Our correspondent Judith Moritz was in court.
Many of the families who lost loved ones at Hillsborough have become close over the last 28 years. Today, they were together again at court to see those charged in connection with the disaster and its aftermath. Sir Norman Bettison has served as the Chief Constable of 2 police forces. The families stood outside the Magistrates' Court building as the former officer walked inside. Graham McCrell was Company Secretary and Safety Officer at Sheffield Wednesday Football Club in 1989. 96 Liverpool fans died as a result of a crush at the Hillsborough ground when the terraces became overcrowded during an FA Cup semi-final. Now, nearly 3 decades later, prosecutions are underway. Mr McCrell is charged with breaching both health and safety at sports ground legislation. 2 senior police officers, Donald Denton and Alan Foster, and a solicitor, Peter Metcalfe, are accused of perverting the course of justice by amending witness statements in the wake of the disaster. Sir Norman Bettison is charged with misconduct in a public office, accused of telling lies about his involvement in the aftermath of Hillsborough and the culpability of fans. The 5 men sat in a row inside the glass-walled dock of the court. They all indicated that they deny the charges they're accused of. The match commander, former Chief Superintendent David Duckenfield, faces the most serious charges, 95 counts of gross negligence manslaughter. He didn't have to appear in court today, as before proceedings against him can begin, prosecutors must apply to lift an existing court order. The men were all released on bail. They'll appear at Preston Crown Court next month. Judith Moritz, BBC News, Warrington.